Here we go.
Not funny. Dickens laugh. Not funny. Dickens laugh.
Welcome back to Remembering the Razzies.
This week we watched Holmes and Watson.
I indubitably believe that it was a bad movie.
It was a bad film.
Not as bad as I thought it was going to be.
Yeah, I think the thing that I remember most about this movie when it came out was there's like reports of like just a bunch of people walking out. And I don't think it was walk out worthy. Like I wanted to stop watching it, but I don't think it was that much worse than like your average bad comedy.
Yeah, this is a movie about Sherlock Holmes and Dr. Watson, and how they caught their enemy Moriarty, but it wasn't really him. There's a bunch of murders that happen, and the Queen's life is threatened, and they have to figure out who is the new murderer, because it's not Moriarty.
He went to America.
He did go to America. And spoilers, it's his daughter, the maid, the housemaid. I don't know a lot about Sherlock Holmes, so I can't really compare it. I know this basically covered all of his gimmicks, though, like how he figures things out.
Yeah, I think this is like half parody movie, half actual Sherlock Holmes movie. They have a lot of bits where they're like, hey, you know what Sherlock Holmes does, right? We're gonna almost do that and then just kind of slightly change it, and then you'll probably laugh, right?
You don't.
And it's pretty bad. There are definitely jokes that work in this movie, for sure. I'll give it that.
It was few, though.
Yeah, very few.
At least there were some.
Yeah. John C. Reilly is really funny.
I really like John C. Reilly in this movie. Will Ferrell, on the other hand, is really not funny.
We've seen some really good Sherlock Holmes in like the last couple decades with like Benedict Cumberbatch and Robert Downey Jr.
And Johnny Depp in Sherlock Gnomes.
Of course.
Yes.
It just kind of sucks because essentially they take a character who, at the time especially, is pretty well liked, very popular. They don't really do anything different with the character besides just kind of make him dumb, which isn't really funny. It's just kind of frustrating to watch.
Frustrating, annoying, how it was obviously Moriarty at the beginning, and then Sherlock Holmes keeps saying, like, no, it wasn't, it was some different guy. Like, sure, that's like a funny setup.
Yeah.
But the fact that they just kept harping on it,
I think
that's kind of annoying.
That's a big problem in a lot of this movie, is they'll take a joke and then they'll kind of just run it into the ground a lot.
That's something that I specialize in.
Yeah.
So when I notice it, you know it's bad.
No, it's extremely noticeable when they think the Queen is dead. That scene goes on a while.
The drunken, like, sequence.
When he's trying on hats. I'm naive in that I say there might be someone out there who thinks that this is pretty funny.
Oh, definitely. This feels like a bad comedy that is 10 years too late. If this was like a 2005 comedy, I could forgive it a little more.
Yeah, it might be a little bit better.
Different then. If I had to sit down and watch it again, I'd be like, okay, whatever. This isn't a movie that I actively would not want to see again in my life.
Yeah.
I will say, the 2018 social commentary bits that they throw in there, fucking awful.
All women in America own guns.
The Make England Great Again fez.
Oh my god, that sucked.
Them talking about American politics and how they would never let some showman idiot.
Trumped up showman. Yeah.
But you have the Electoral College, which surely will prevent some trumped-up charlatan from gaining power.
Boo! You said last week that liberal movies never win Razzies. Well, here we go.
Yeah.
We did it.
Yep, they did it. This movie was pretty inoffensive to me. Watching the trailer, I feel like gives away that this is not going to be a great movie. So I think that's what baffles me more than anything, is like people went into this expecting it to be good, and then it was so much worse than what they thought it was going to be that they walked out. Like, that doesn't check with me. It's pretty bad, but it's not like the worst thing we've seen.
Yeah, it's whatever.
Yeah.
You want to talk about what it was nominated for?
I would love to see what it was nominated for.
This was nominated for 6 Razzies, and it won 4. Worst prequel, remake, ripoff, or sequel. Worst supporting actor. Worst director. Worst picture. We'll start with worst prequel, remake, ripoff, or sequel. This is on you, buddy. I don't know a lot about Sherlock.
As a person who enjoyed like the show and the movies, it's not good as a parody. I just think that the jokes that they do that are kind of parody-esque aren't really funny, and it doesn't really work as a spin-off or something like that. So yeah, it's just kind of like, you know, Sherlock Holmes exists. Here's him if he was kind of dumb. it really doesn't work. As a Sherlock property, it doesn't work, and as like a joke about the Sherlock properties, that doesn't work either.
I feel like if you wanted to go for a Sherlock parody, you should have gone a little like deeper into some of the Sherlock lore, because like I got the jokes because they're just basic Sherlock jokes.
Right.
I think if you wanted to make a really good parody of this, you have to like aim for the Sherlock fans.
Yeah, I think this movie just wasn't smart enough. It always took really low-hanging fruit when it came to like the jokes that it was making about Sherlock. And I think that's probably on purpose, because I think most people who are like seeing every Will Ferrell movie might not be into like the BBC show Sherlock.
Yeah, I know what I'm trying to compare it to.
Yeah.
Another parody movie that we've seen recently that was nominated for a Razzie, Vampires Suck.
Oh yeah.
As tryhards, when we watched Vampires Suck, we could tell that they did their homework when making this movie.
That's true.
With this movie, it literally felt like, oh, I know a couple things about Sherlock. Let me write a screenplay real quick.
Right.
Like, I didn't feel like they, like, knew this character inside and out to make an effective parody of him.
That's super true.
Vampires Suck is awesome, by the way.
I want to eat you.
That's cool. Most guys aren't into that.
If you just watch the first 2 Twilight movies, make fun of them, and then watch Vampires Suck, perfect trilogy.
You're gonna love it, yeah. It's
really
so good. Let's move on to worst supporting actor for John C. Reilly. Hard disagree.
Yeah, very hard to disagree. He was the one good thing about this movie. He had some not great moments, for sure.
Oh, yeah.
But I think any moment where he was just allowed to, like, tell a joke by himself was very good.
His crush on the Queen was always funny, how he was always, like, going
Kind
to
of like
hold her
reaching out,
hand.
yeah. Entering the courtroom and just, like, shooting multiple shots into the air and shooting different people. When John C. Reilly was allowed to just do comedy that had nothing to do with like the Sherlock Holmes property at all, he was at his best for sure.
I think that the worst actor of the two was obviously Will Ferrell. And
Yeah.
Will Ferrell lost the Razzie to Donald Trump for 2 documentaries, so
That sucks.
yeah. Worst director. I guess really nothing like super called out at me. The performances were just phoned in performances, which I would expect from most of the actors in
Yeah,
this.
yeah.
The biggest problem was it felt like it wasn't hands-on enough.
Yeah, it seems like a pretty generic Hollywood movie, which is fine for some people, but
Not for film lovers
not
like
not
us.
for us. We saw everything everywhere all at once.
Yo, that movie's so good. And then let's talk about Worst Picture. This was nominated against Winchester, Robin Hood, The Happy Time Murders, and Gotti.
I've seen a couple of those, and
I've heard much worse things about The Happy Time Murders and Gotti.
The Happy Time Murders I watched in theaters, and that was very bad.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that one I might actually rank as worst. That honestly, I would probably give it to that, and I know you haven't seen it, but
I've heard about it. So
yeah, I would say when we revisit, we should definitely watch that one, because I think that's for sure a worse movie.
Yeah, this movie overall, again, it's just, I feel like it's, the worst thing about it is it's forgetful.
It probably won just because of all the publicity of people walking out.
Yeah.
Again, I don't really understand why people were walking out on this movie, but
I feel like if you're like a hardcore Will Ferrell fan, like hardcore,
yeah,
you're
it's
still gonna
probably
like
fine,
this
yeah.
movie.
Yeah, it's definitely Will Ferrell brand comedy. It's just
Yeah.
not as good as his heyday in like the mid 2000s.
Yeah, no,
So-
this feels like if he would come back for SNL, this is just a very extended modern day Will Ferrell SNL skit.
Yeah, that's accurate.
Anyway, do you want to rank this movie?
Let's do it.
Let's start with Best Made.
It's not terribly made.
It's not.
The production value is there. I think we pretty much clarified that like the cinematography and the like editing is probably the worst part in terms of
Yeah.
being well made.
But it wasn't distracting enough.
No,
I'm thinking between like under movie 43.
I would be okay with that. Yeah, I was gonna put it right around movie 43.
Four Stick, because I've been editing it all weekend. I realized how shitty that movie is and dark.
Yeah,
And just like,
it's gross to look at.
if it's a movie that it's hard for me to pull scenes from, it's a bad movie.
Yeah. Another week with the Last Airbender on top.
We got one more. Let's go.
Actually,
let's
it's the
go.
finale, Cats, which I have seen before,
Yeah.
and I was very entertained when I saw it.
If Last Airbender makes it to this point and then gets dethroned,
It might.
it might.
I'm probably gonna fight for it because
It's got a chance.
it's It's pretty good.
Okay. Join us next week when we watch Cats.
Yeah.
And also give our worst of the decade opinions.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, finale.
Yeah, finale.
This movie was very uninspiring for an end bit. No, thank you.
Not funny.